Top of the morning to you. Another St. Paddy's Day is here. And this is Lavender Rose in the midnight hour, talking about St. Paddy's Day, Irish Spring soap because it's magically delicious. Wait, and leprechauns. It's a good day to talk about leprechauns because that's one of the things we think about when we think of St. Paddy's Day. I don't know why, but kind of do. Pot of gold and all that. I don't know about the pot of gold, but there are people who say there are leprechauns. The wee folk do exist. And you know what? I believe it. I buy these stories. I believe in the fairies. I believe in gnomes, elves, leprechauns, which are probably all similar in some way. Dwarves, all these things. And who are we to say they don't exist, huh? After all, people still say the Loch Ness Monster is there and they've seen it. So why not leprechauns, right? And here are just a couple of stories. Okay. First story is from a Reddit user called Helpful Person, and he was striking up a conversation with this Irish businessman. And this is what he says. Having been fascinated with Irish folklore and being a strong believer in the good folk, I couldn't resist asking him if he believed in the Fae. When I asked this, his friendly eyes became serious and a bit nostalgic, and he said, I do, and my father saw a leprechaun. Clear as day he saw it. The story went something like this. My old man was very kind but stoic. He didn't tell the story very much to people, except when they were alone, they talked about it, or with family. They knew as well, of course, family, maybe some tight friends, who knows. You probably don't go around telling people this, although I probably would. But just saying. Anyway, it happened in his hometown, a rural village that must have had a population of about 100 people. I know. I know how that feels. At the time, that is. And as a kid, he walked home from the local national school to the family's house that was outside of town. One day he was walking along, and just before his house, he saw a wee fella sitting on the side of the road. The lad was tiny, maybe about 2 feet, and he was wearing a tweed vest and a hat, red hair, and he was sitting down making leather shoes. Just like you hear leprechauns do. I never heard that, but anyway. Anyway, my dad just couldn't believe it. He blinked, looked around, but the lad was still there, just working away on his shoes. So my dad started walking up to him, and when he got to about 3 meters away, bump, he couldn't get any closer. It was like my dad hit a force field or something around the leprechaun. Mind you, the wee fella hadn't looked up this whole time. My dad sprinted to his front door, screaming for his sister all the way to come look. He and my aunt were just kids at the time, ran back outside to see, but the leprechaun was gone, of course. Just had disappeared like nothing. Too bad that wasn't the days when you had, cell phones and things. Supposedly, there was in 1964 also, and by the way, let me go back to that last story. What do you think the force field was? Was it because they were in 2 different dimensions and he could just see into it? Something to think about, But supposedly in 1964 in Liverpool, England, in a place called Jubilee Park, there were tales about seeing little green men. I mean, of course, they were dressed in white hats with green coats, things like that. And some were saying, some were also wondering if they were aliens too. So I don't know. I don't know if aliens and leprechauns, do they look alike? I don't think so, but just thought I'd throw that out. And then of course there's those reports where people say that they throw things. Sometimes they don't, and I guess sometimes they do, especially if you're not being nice to them. I know one guy was chasing one through the woods. Of course, you're going to get something thrown at it. But this one story, where this couple had gone to, and I don't know where this was at exactly. It was up in the mountains somewhere. I don't know if it was in Ireland, if it was in America, or where it was at. But this couple went up into the mountains. Probably America. And they were having a remote cabin where they would spend their weekends or something. And whilst they were in their garden, they saw a stone fall at their feet. And this, of course, looking around, and this a couple of times happened, and it looked like it came from a tree. At first they thought a squirrel was throwing it, but how is a squirrel throwing stones in a tree? I don't know. Kind of weird. Maybe an acorn or a nut, but a rock? I don't think so. And then they looked through the branches and they saw it. The little green guy sitting up in the tree. Yes, they saw a leprechaun. And then he smiled at them. It wasn't menacing or anything. He just smiled at them and ran up on top of the rooftop and ran away. They tried to get him to come back. He wouldn't. And they're wondering, what was that about? I think he was just trying to get their attention, because a lot of times we live here and we live in our world and we think we know things, but there are things that are living around us that we say, that doesn't exist. It's all in our imagination. Maybe they were just his way of saying, I'm here, I exist. Just thought I would throw that in. And another report of a deputy who had, deputy I think, or was he a policeman, a deputy, I'm not sure. And he, one night he was patrolling on the road, right? And he ran. He wasn't driving. I don't think he was driving really, really fast, but he sort of knocked into a leprechaun. I mean, at first he didn't know it was a leprechaun. He saw something flying through the air. He got out, thinking probably he hit someone, and it is a someone, right? And then he saw a little green man, the leprechaun looking, Tommy Knocker looking, with a little red hair and scraggly looking, although I think that's more of a Tommy Knocker when they look like that. And he got up, I guess obviously not hurt, and ran away with a little evil smile and laughter on, I don't know, something like that. And there was another story. Oh, right. Another story here where a couple was driving again down a deserted road or something, and two women flagged them down. And this was in America, as with the cop one. And the women were hysterical. They were saying, 6 or 7 little, we were driving along the road in their car, and 6 little, I guess they almost ran them over, and 6 or 7 little men jumped all over their car and were hitting on their windows and hanging on. I'm sorry, just picturing it a little bit. Probably shaking their fist at them, you almost hit me, And then they galloped back into the woods. So, hey, don't try to hit a leprechaun. Anyway, just a few little stories about the wee folk. Okay, I want everyone to have a fabulous St. Patrick's Day. And over and out.